Please give a huge round of applause for the Defense Symposium. Good afternoon, esteemed guests, visionaries, and every Defense Symposium. As the gold sun casts its glow upon us, we stand at the threshold of a remarkable journey, a confluence of innovation, wisdom, and boundless inspiration. I am Mahima, your guide and companion on this captivating voyage. Today, we embark on a voyage into the pulsating heart of Techfest Iit Bombay, a beacon of excellence, ingenuity in the vast cosmos of science and technology. For a quarter of a century, Techfest has been the veritable crucible of innovation, the annual festival that has illuminated the corridors of the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. So let's give our hands for the Defense Symposium having Admiral Karambir Singh, Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadauria, and General Manoj Mukund Narwane. I will request Deputy Director Professor Sudarshan along with Dean of Student Affairs Suryanarayan Dula for extending a heartfelt welcome as we present the bouquet to the esteemed Defense Symposium. Please give a big round of applause. Following the trail of illustrious leaders who grace our stage, it is with immense honor that today we have Rear Admiral Philippos Sir with us. What can someone say about such a personality? He is an adjunct faculty with Aerospace Engineering Department, IIT Bombay, for the past 1 year. Rear Admiral Philippos is an alumnus of Lawrence School Lovedale and the National Defense Academy. He retired in April 2022 after a 36-year career in the Indian Navy. Former naval aviator who headed naval aviation in the roles of Assistant Chief of Naval Staff Air for 3 years and Flag Officer Naval Aviation at Goa for 4 years from 2015 to 2022. Prior to assuming charge as ACNS Air, he was Principal Director Aircraft Acquisition for 3 years. The above decade saw the induction of 45 MiG-29K, 17 Hawks, 12 Boeing P-8I, 12 Dornier, 16 ALH, and 12 microlights. He commanded the carrier-bond-seeking ASW Squadron 330 and was the commissioning commanding officer of Naval Air Station INS Shikara. He commanded the missile corvette INS Nashak and INS Kirpan, followed by the guided missile frigate INS Brahmaputra, besides serving as executive officer of the destroyer INS Delhi. He was awarded the Nausena Medal for his tenure in command of INS Brahmaputra and the AVSM during his tenure as Flag Officer Naval Aviation. He retired Flag Officer, has undergone the Staff Course, the Higher Air Command Course, and the Royal College of Defence Studies course at London. He holds an MA International Security and Strategy from King's College, London, Masters in Philosophy for Political Studies, and a MSc in Defense and Strategic Studies. Post-retirement, he is a visiting faculty at IIT Bombay Aerospace Engineering Department. He Kamal Guru College, Coimbatore, and Naval War College, Goa. He is an advisor at cutting-edge technology firms. In addition, he is the President Navy Foundation, Goa, Vice President of the Old Laurentian Association. He is a passionate biker, swimmer, diver, and a guitarist. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Rear Admiral Philip, sir. So, I'll urge Mr. Philippos to carry forward the mic.
Thank you for that excellent introduction, Mahima, and setting the stage for this 1.5-hour session. On behalf of the faculty and students of IIT Powai, I extend a warm welcome to General Manoj Mukund Naravane, Admiral Karambir Singh, and Air Chief Marshal RKS Bhadoria to the Defense Symposium, which is part of the Techfest 2023. To the 2,500 students who are present here from colleges from all over India, let me assure you that you are in for a unique session. It is very rare to have 3 former chiefs of the 3 services on the same platform. And what's special is all 3 of them retired just 1 year ago. So they are totally current with what the scenario is in the armed forces and the world at large. And I'd also like to add, this is just the 3rd occasion since independence where 3 postmates or batchmates, like you would understand, from the same course were chiefs together. So it is indeed an honor for all of us. Another unique factor is that all 4 of us, the 3 chiefs as well as I'm a small guy in front of them, all 4 of us are sons of Air Force officers, which is kind of a coincidence of sorts. And so a little about what you are going to be experiencing now. Each of the former chiefs will speak for 20 minutes. And at the end of the 3 sessions, there will be a 30-minute question and answer session, for which I will request the person who wants, the girl or boy who wants to ask a question, to kindly stand, identify yourself and the institution you come from, and to whom you would like to direct the question to. So you can prepare your questions as the talks are going on so that we gain the maximum from this session. So with that, may I have the honor of introducing our first speaker, General Manoj Mukund Naravane. General Naravane served as the 28th Chief of Army Staff from December 2019 to April 2022. He is an alumnus of the Jnana Prabodhana Prashala Pune, the National Defense Academy Khadakwasla Pune, the Indian Military Academy Dehradun, the Defense Services Staff College Wellington, and the Army War College Mao, where he later served on the faculty. The General holds a master's degree in Defense Studies, an MPhil degree in Defense and Management Studies, and a PhD from Punjab University, Patiala, based on his experiences in Nagaland. The officer was commissioned into the 7th Battalion of the Sikh Light Infantry Regiment in June 1980. He commanded 2 Rashtriya Rifles in J&K during the peak of militancy. He also commanded a brigade facing China, served as the Inspector General of Assam Rifles in Nagaland, and commanded a corps facing Pakistan. In a distinguished military career spanning more than 4 decades, he also served as the Vice Chief of Army Staff and General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Training Command and the Eastern Command. He has vast experience in foreign affairs, having been part of the Indian peacekeeping force in Sri Lanka, as well as defense attaché at Yangon, Myanmar, besides heading Indian delegations to several countries. General Naravane has many national and international awards to his credit, including the Param Vishtist Seva Medal and the Distinguished Public Service Award 2022 conferred by the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. He also writes a bi-monthly column for the print India on matters of national security. May I kindly request General Naravane to deliver his talk. Thank you. So can we kindly have the lights on so that we can see the audience? Can you put some lights on the audience?
Nitik? Thank you, Philippos, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you also to the IIT Mumbai for inviting all three of us to speak to you today. This platform is part of the Techfest. And I speak for all of us when I say that we are happy to be here and to see your bright young faces whenever the lights come on. It's always a pleasure to speak to the youth of the country, and we shall try to do justice to the subject at hand. We shall be discussing aspects of national security and how it plays out as far as the Army, Navy, Air Force are concerned. To start with, I would like to say that when you think of national security, the first thing that comes to mind is the three of us, Army, Navy, Air Force. But national security has got a much wider ambit and canvas. It is not about the external security alone. National security encompasses energy security, food security, health security, as the pandemic very clearly showed. And with the advances in technology, even cyber security. So let us not look at security from this very narrow framework. And when you see this expanded ambit of national security, you will realize that all of us, when I say all of us, all of you, us, not only the Ministry of Defense, but all the ministries, whether it is railways, external affairs, all the other uniformed organizations, whether they are the state police or the central armed police forces, everyone is an equal partner in this national security. So it is not our responsibility alone. When I say our, I mean of the armed forces. And during my talk, if I use the word army, it means Army, Navy, Air Force. We are all in it together. So it is not just our baby. All of us are equal participants in this, and we all need to realize our responsibility as citizens of the country on how we can each in our own way contribute to this overall concept of national security. One of our great Indian thinkers, Kautilya, he had said that as far as national security is concerned, there are 4 threats. The external threat, which is very easy. The internal threat, which I'm sure you can understand what I'm talking about. But there is also an internally aided external threat and an externally aided internal threat. Sounds confusing? But if you really dwell upon it, give it a little bit of thought, it is not so confusing. Externally aided internal threat is precisely what is happening in J&K, where Pakistan is funding terror and terrorist organizations. Kautilya also went on to say that out of the threats, the external and internal, it is the internal threat which is much more dangerous and which needs to be tackled more carefully. That also might sound a little strange to you, but it is not so. An external threat is more well defined. You know where your enemy is, and therefore that much easier to tackle. It is the internal threat, the enemy within. It could be the person sitting next to you. How do you know? And therefore, we need to pay more attention to this internal dimension of national security. And if we have to pay more attention to that, then the motto that we live by, unity in diversity, cannot just remain a slogan, but has to be actually followed in letter and spirit. If we let divisive tendencies breed amongst us, or if there are divisive feelings amongst us, then those inimical countries who do not want to see India grow and prosper will take advantage of these divisions and fracture us from within. And that is what we should not allow to happen. And once again, for this, it is not the soldiers guarding the borders, but it is each and every one of you who has an important role to play. So this diversity of our country, from north to south, east to west, this diversity has to become our strength. Each of us, from wherever we come, brings different qualities to the table. These different qualities should be harnessed, made use of to get a better result and outcome. And only then will we be able to actually grow and prosper. So that was as far as national security was concerned. Next, we come to our raison d'etre. Why are we here? The armed forces. That is, of course, to guarantee the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country. There was a feeling in recent years, the last decade, that wars may not happen. But as recent events have shown, whether it is the Russian special military operations in Ukraine or the ongoing conflict between Israel and the Hamas, it just shows that war is always around the corner. We might want peace, but you can't tell our adversary to be peaceful if he does not wish to be so. And therefore, in the words of a Roman scholar of the 5th century, that if you want peace, prepare for war. And that is what we are here for. At all times, the armed forces, many times even my friends and relatives ask me that what do you do in peacetime? It's a very difficult question to answer. What do we do in peacetime? In peacetime, we are training for war. The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. That is what we are doing 24/7, without let up. So that is where the armed forces stand today. You are aware that we are having unsettled borders, both in our west with Pakistan, as well as in the north with China. If you take a quick glance at the countries of our neighborhood, you will realize that most of them are passing through some crisis or the other, which makes them not as stable as India is. And any instability on our borders always has a negative fallout on our own security calculus. So therefore, if your neighbor is in trouble, you should not feel happy about it. And that is equally true in all walks of life. If your neighbor's house is on fire, don't be happy, because that fire will come to your house. If the entire neighborhood is peaceful and stable, then all of us can grow and prosper together. So a secure and peaceful neighborhood is also equally important. Since you are all here in the IIT, I thought we could share a few thoughts about the arms and equipment, which is such a critical factor in our defense preparedness. The way technology is changing, and the way platforms are developing, newer and newer weapon systems are finding their way into our armory. We have for too long been very dependent on foreign sources, foreign vendors for our arms and equipment. But over the last few years, that has undergone a sea change with our Make in India policy and the policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And once again, this is where all of you will come in as you graduate and take up your assignments in various areas to be able to develop, design, and give cutting-edge technologies with which the industry then can develop state-of-the-art weapon systems which the armed forces can use without having to depend on any external source or agency. The importance of this has once again been borne out by what is happening in Ukraine. They're totally dependent on Western aid. The day that aid, that tap is turned off, they will collapse. We should be self-sufficient in all respects, whether it is a simple rifle or an advanced aircraft. As part of the Techfest, there are certain weapon systems which are being displayed. You can have a look at that. It will give you ideas on what more can be done. And of course, the staff is always there to advise you. But when we are going in for this development, there is a very critical need that there should be close coordination between the academia, the industry, and the end user, that is the armed forces. And all developments should take part in sync. It should not happen that the industry has developed some system which, when offered to the armed forces, then we need some more parameters or qualities in that, which makes them go back to the drawing board. And those qualities that we might need may not be there. And if they're not there, then you have to go back to the R&D, research and development, to the academia, which will only delay the whole process. So therefore, it is very essential that we have a nice closed loop, an iterative process, so that what we need is known to the academia, what we need is also known to the industry, and the development right from bottom up happens in a very coordinated and synergized manner. That will not only ensure that we get the best of what is required, but it will also ensure that there are no wastages or delays on account of fresh requirement of R&D or fresh requirement of making prototypes. And if we all put our heads together, there is no reason that we should not be able to develop the entire range of weapons that the armed forces needs to fight the wars of the future. So I will end my talk now with once again re-emphasizing this point that we are all in it together, and if we want our country to be strong, then all of us have to play a role. And the most important role in that is not to send WhatsApp forwards without verifying whether they're correct or not. That also contributes to national security. Thank you very much and wish you all the best.
Thank you for your most enlightening talk, sir. The next speaker is Air Chief Marshal Rakesh Kumar Singh Bhadoria. A few words about the illustrious Air Chief Marshal. Air Chief Marshal Rakesh Kumar Singh Bhadoria, PVSM AVSM VM, took over as the Chief of Air Staff on 30th September 2019. An alumnus of the prestigious National Defense Academy, he graduated from the Air Force Academy with the coveted Sword of Honor and was commissioned in the fighter stream of the Indian Air Force on 15th June 1980. He has over 4,315 hours of experience on 43 types of fighter aircraft as well as transport aircraft, and holds the unique distinction of being an experimental test pilot, a Cat A qualified flying instructor, and a pilot attack instructor. He completed his master's in defense studies from Command and Staff College, Bangladesh. During his illustrious career spanning almost 4 decades, the Air Chief Marshal has held a number of significant field and staff appointments, which include command of a frontline Jaguar squadron, command of a premier Air Force station in southwestern sector, commanding officer of flight test squadron at the aircraft and system test establishment, and chief test pilot, as well as project director at National Flight Test Center on Tejas light combat aircraft, or the LCA as we know it. He was extensively involved in the initial prototype flight testing on the LCA. He has tenanted the appointments of Air Attaché Moscow, Assistant Chief of Air Staff Projects, Commandant National Defense Academy, Senior Air Staff Officer at Central Air Command, Deputy Chief of Air Staff, Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief Southern Air Command, and Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Training Command prior to taking over as the Chief of Air Staff. He has also held the appointment of the Vice Chief of Air Staff prior to assuming charge as the Chief. In recognition of his meritorious service, the Air Chief Marshal has been awarded the Vayu Sena Medal in 2002, the Ati Vishesh Seva Medal in 2013, and Param Vishesh Seva Medal in 2018. The Air Chief Marshal took over as the President of the Air Force Association on 1st October 2021. May I now request Air Chief Marshal Bhadoria to kindly deliver his talk.
Thank you, Philippos. Good evening, girls and boys, members from the faculty, and the dignitaries on the dais and present here. I'm really happy to be here. I've always been fascinated by people who get trained at IITs. It was always one of my dreams to interact and see who are these bright kids who come to IITs, who are going to be the future of the country. And from that aspect, I'm so happy that I have this opportunity today. I myself, to share with you some careers details have been given by Philippos. I'm a student from Kendriya Vidyalaya, Chandigarh, thereafter joined NDA and into the Indian Air Force. General Naravne has covered the security aspects, the importance of national security, how the defense services come in. And I would try and not repeat, take off from wherever he has left, the understanding that he has given you. I think it's very important for you to understand the issues that are related to security are really getting complex, both at the global front and the regional front in our neighborhood. And every aspect, every important action on geopolitical security scenario at global front, be it Russia, Ukraine, be it Gaza, be it Middle East. And I thought Houthis, we were not concerned, but now even those kind of groups now, every aspect there is a ripple which reaches India. It is because of our rising stature, because of the rising power that we are, our position in the global south as the leader, also our regional position as a growing power, our military strength, and the future that belongs to us. So every aspect on global front will bother us. We need to be aware of it. We need to plan for it if we are going to become strong in the future. Regional front, of course, our neighborhood, China and Pakistan, the region will remain volatile, increasingly so with China's ambitions, both on military and geopolitical front. Their competition with US, and it has its own implications for Indo-Pacific, for Indian Ocean, and for us. Therefore, we have to be militarily strong, we have to be stronger in the future, and every strength in the future needs to be based on our own capability development, not bought from foreign countries and foreign companies. Our intrinsic growth or Atmanirbharta, self-reliance, and real capability development. And I think that is where all of you really come in if we have to dictate how the country will grow into the future. From air power aspects or from Indian Air Force aspects or from everything to do with technology that is rapidly changing, what it means, and if I have to give you a flavor of these aspects, how these things are changing for the future, many areas of normal defense manufacturing, you would be aware, a lot of Indian Make in India work happening, a lot of innovation happening. That is one area of current technology, current weapons, current sensors, current capability in networking, some bit in cyber and space. Important to understand, rapidly we are moving towards next generation technologies, be it in unmanned areas, be it drones, be it unmanned capability, manned-unmanned teaming for the future, be it in cyber and space, which is becoming the next real, area of contention, area of military growth, area where leadership in technological sense will matter. Also, technologically, what AI/ML brings to the table, what really big data sensors, advanced sensors, the capability to integrate those and have a common picture, the capability for command and control systems, networking, all this is becoming critical. So if you have to look at war 15 to 20 years from now, what do we look at? And that will give you a flavor of what you need to start thinking and working. And what from Air Force or air power perspective it means is ability of entire ISR, what is called intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. That means complete picture of what is where, be it peacetime, be it build up to war, or be it in war situation, 24/7 in the entire area of interest. At the moment we have in the area of interest at the desired time. So assets are low. So the sensors need to change, the ability of data communication, the communication systems themselves, and ability to interlink all this. You can imagine the kind of data we are talking of, the kind of, therefore, communication, the way communication and data transmission needs to evolve. Beyond the terrestrial network, going into low Earth orbit satellites, going into various forms of communication and data that are going to be available. Making it secure, that means your quantum technologies, your quantum security, your interlinking of cyber, your ability to deter a cyber threat. And on top of this, the moment it gets so complex, it is beyond human capability in a C2 system, and therefore the AI/ML support is required in a very, very big manner. I think as budding engineers, as the next generation technologists and innovators, you need to change the paradigm and jump to the next level. Whatever is happening currently, there are enough people working, there are enough thought process, and you need to start looking at future requirements 10 years to 20 years, and these are the areas that would really matter. If you have a scenario where you cannot, it will always start with ability to speak or see, and enemy's ability to interfere with you. And if the adversary has been able to, through cyber or through any of the other means, jam your systems, jam your command and control, and degrade your networks, you have lost the war before it has begun. Therefore, the entire philosophy of ability to conduct a war would shift not only from weapons and the offensive capability to ability to be able to safeguard your networks and have enough advanced networks that you can beat your adversary, retain your networks, and degrade his networks. It is easy to say that this is one of the areas that can be worked easily. Believe me, it is absolutely a different paradigm. We need to go to the next level in our entire thinking of data backbones and communication backbones. We need to bring in a quantum security, which we are already delayed. It should already be happening now. And we need to integrate the entire data presented to commanders in a manner which is AI enabled and therefore in a readily usable form. The moment you start looking at this data, from 10 years from now, you will, in spite of AI ML, reach a complex situation, and that is where neural networks will become important. It is a budding field, and that would really need to step in. I do believe that this strategic competition that we are going to get into in our area is really a competition with China. The kind of money China has put in defense capabilities over the last 3 to 4 decades, they have achieved a level of competence and capability which are really ahead of its time as of now, ahead of us. Indigenous capability when I talk. So one, straight away, an area that we need to develop is to have adequate capability of our own in all these areas. And second, unless we get ahead in technologies and beat China to it, we will not be able to lead this game. We will not be able to deter them from action that they may want to take militarily or by non-military means. And that again is an area of new tech that we are talking of. I've already talked of networks, I've talked of AI, ML, your quantum sciences. Equally important is the next generation capability in weapons and sensors. Sensors need to become smaller, they need to get onto the satellites, they all need to be linked between satellite and airborne, be it aircraft-based, UAV-based, drone-based, camera-based, ground visual stroke, acoustic, any sensor, entire data should be linked. This is an area which is open. Put a layer of cyber and space in terms of technology and development on it. It is again a template that is wide open, wherein a leadership role can be taken easily. So I have always maintained, and it is not for just saying for the sake of saying that these are areas that we can become leaders. This is an area where there is going to be so much growth that people who can be innovative and build their own technology and IPRs, you will have an edge over your adversary. So from ability to deter, and if deterrence failed, ability to conduct war and win in all conditions. If you have to look 2 decades from now, you people have to become the leaders in this technological development. It is not only the technologies that matter, it is how we are going to tackle it. For example, if I was to ask you today, who is from which department, what are your primary subjects, what degrees are you looking at? Okay, there would be, let's say, computer sciences, electrical, the aerospace, there would be second subjects of AI, ML, there would be civil engineering, various departments. Okay, so the various groups. What defense and aerospace and space tech needs is a combination of virtually everything that I've spoken about. And therefore, you have to not only be a master in the area that you have chosen, but you have to start studying. Every one of you who wants to get into defense and aerospace regime or domain, you have to become an equally good expert, and by expert, I don't mean get a degree in that. By expert, I mean open the books, become a master. Okay, the degree doesn't matter thereafter, after your initial degree. It is your understanding, knowledge, and ability to innovate. And therefore, everything that I've spoken about, apart from your main area of domain, you need to start becoming an expert. And that is all these fields, AI, ML, neural networks, your data communication, your space-based and ground-based terrestrial data backbones that you're going to develop, and everything to do with quantum security and quantum sciences. Only then you will be able to understand that every defense product needs to be enabled in some way or the other, in some network or the other, and in some capability where all this will matter. So when your intrinsic capability and understanding is there on the system, it would come into a robust technology development. That is how we can tackle this complexity of future technologies in a better manner. And again, I say, it's not the degrees that matter after your basic BTech, MTech. It is the understanding and knowledge that matters. It is the ability to get into these fields, to understand it, and be adequately knowledgeable in all these fields. Believe me, all these fields apart from your original field. So this is what thought process I wanted to share with you. It is great opportunity for us to be able to talk to you, to be able to have this opportunity here, and we would love to address your questions if you have any at the end of this session. Thank you. God bless you all. Jai Hind.
Thank you for your insightful talk, Chief Marshal Bhadoria. The final speaker for the evening is Admiral Karambir Singh, PVSM, AVSM, former Chief of Naval Staff. Admiral Karambir Singh assumed charge as the 24th Chief of Naval Staff and served as the Chief from May 2019 to November 2021. He's an alumnus of the National Defence Academy, Khadakwasla, the Defence Services Staff College, Wellington, and the College of Naval Warfare, Mumbai. The Admiral was commissioned in the Navy on July 1980. He is a naval aviator who earned his wings in 1981 as a helicopter pilot, and he has flown extensively on the Chetak or the Alouette Mark III and several variants of the Kamov helicopters. Over the 4 decades of service under the Indian Navy's White Ensign, he has commanded the Indian Coast Guard ship Chand Bibi, the guided missile corvette INS Vijayadurg, and 2 of the Indian Navy's frontline guided missile destroyers, INS Rana and INS Delhi. He has also tenanted prestigious seagoing appointments, including that of the Fleet Operations Officer of the Western Fleet. He has served in the Directorate of Naval Air Staff at the Integrated Headquarters of the Ministry of Defence Navy and has been Captain Air and Officer in Charge of the Naval Air Station at Mumbai. On promotion to flag rank, the Admiral served as the Chief of Staff of the Eastern Naval Command. He has also tenanted other critical flag appointments, including those of Chief of Staff of the Tri-Services Unified Command in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and as the Flag Officer commanding Maharashtra and Gujarat area at Mumbai. As a Vice Admiral, he was the Director General Project Seabird and oversaw all aspects of the development of the Indian Navy's expansive and modern base at Karwar, Karnataka. Thereafter, as the Deputy Chief of Naval Staff, he discharged his responsibilities towards the Indian Navy's current and future operational and combat capacity and capabilities. He then served as the Vice Chief of Naval Staff, involved with the development of the future Navy. He has a rich repertoire of senior command experience and has been the Flag Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Eastern Naval Command, Visakhapatnam. He assumed command of the Indian Navy on 31st May 2019, serving until his retirement from active service on 30th November 2021. May I now request the Admiral to deliver his talk.
Thank you so much. My good friends, Air Chief Marshal Bhadoria, General Naravne, and Rear Admiral Philippos, distinguished dignitaries, deans, professors present here today, and above all, the brilliant students of various colleges, schools, and IITs in the audience. Good afternoon to all of you. You know, everything intelligent that had to be said has already been said. So I thought I'll tell you a little joke. You know, Air Chief Marshal Bhadoria, General Naravne, and myself, we joined the armed forces together. And as part of the recruitment, you had to clear an interview, which the three of us obviously did. After my interview finished, I met one of my fellow aspirants who was also keen to join the Navy. And I asked him how his interview went. So he told me that the Navy recruiter, who was a naval officer, asked him during the interview, "Do you know how to swim?" And he replied, "Why? Have you run out of ships?" So obviously he didn't clear the interview. Anyway, on a serious note, I wish to say more or less the same things as other two have said. I was just giving a maritime tadka to this whole thing, but I'm truly honored and privileged to be here amongst you at the Techfest to share some of my thoughts. And I thought I'd briefly touch upon two specific issues. The first is the importance of the seas and the oceans for the security and prosperity of our country, part of national security. And the second is the importance of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, in achieving this goal of security and prosperity of our country in the maritime domain. You know, in April this year, I was privileged to speak at Waves 2023 at IIT Madras. And when I was going through the merchandise that was placed by the organizing body, I was pleasantly surprised to see a T-shirt and amongst the T-shirts, there was one that had thalassophile printed on it. A thalassophile is lover of the oceans or love of the oceans. And I immediately bought one. And why my surprise was pleasant was because we in India seldom recognized the ancient thalassocracies that existed in India. A thalassocracy, as some of you may be aware, means a maritime kingdom or empire. So we had the Cholas and the Kalingas. These are two empires or two prime examples of very vibrant, ancient Indian thalassocratic states. And that's why I'm drawing your mind back to history. Our history reminds us of the deep linkage that we as Indians, as people, had with the seas. You know, our ancestors wrote hymns in praise of Varuna, the lord of the oceans, and verses dedicated to the goddess Aditi, invoking her benediction for safe sea voyages. The earliest evidence of India's sophisticated maritime capability and infrastructure is seen in the 4,500-year-old dry dock. Dry dock is where the ships come in, water is removed, and they're repaired. This dry dock, 4,500-year-old dry dock, exists at Lothal in Gujarat, where the government of the day is in the process of building a maritime museum, which, of course, the Indian Navy is enthusiastically supporting. So, girls and boys, maritime trade was a predominant characteristics of early Indians dating back as far back as 1200 BC. So was the cultural and ideological exchange through the medium of the sea, borne out by overseas missions, for example, by Emperor Ashoka, who laid the foundation of the Hindu kingdoms of Southeast Asia, such as Funan, Cambodia, present-day Cambodia, by the Brahmin named Kaundinya. Many of you would not know that in an island in Jeju in Cambodia, nearly 25% of the people there trace their origin back to the Princess of Ayodhya. How did she travel? Because of this linkages that we established through the seas. Also, ancient Indian shipbuilding techniques were embodied. In a 6th century treatise, which is called the Yukti Kalapatru, which was a sophisticated technical document that detailed building ships that would undertake long trade voyages overseas. And all this trade that we were doing helped India command 25% of the global GDP in those days. That's why we were called the Sone ki Chidiya. Today our contribution to GDP is in single digits, 4%. Also, you all must be aware that we in India sadly lost our independence because we were weak at sea. towards the later stages of our history. And I think we Indians are very clear today that we can't repeat this mistake of being weak at sea. And this requirement to be secure at sea is even more important today because our connection with and the reliance on the seas has become even stronger. So now I've got various statistics to rattle off. I'll just rattle off quickly. We've got a vast coastline. People say it's 7,600, it's actually 14,000 kilometers. We've got 205 non-major ports, 13 major ports, 1,200 islands on both the eastern and western side. We have something called the exclusive economic zone, which is basically 200 nautical miles out, and all the water and the seabed and the surface is under our jurisdiction, about 2 million square kilometers, or 2/3 the size of our landmass. We have a continental shelf, which is 1.2 million square kilometers. So if you take the exclusive economic zone and continental shelf, which is under our jurisdiction, we have a sea area which is equal to the land mass. So when I used to brief the Prime Minister, I would often show him the economic map of India, which didn't have the coastline. It finished at the border and then went out into the sea. That is the kind of economic potential that we have. Also, please remember, 95% of our trade by volume is transported by sea. And any disruption to this trade will cause instability because of conflict, which will have an adverse effect on our economy. So what is happening these days, as Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria mentioned, in the Red Sea by the Houthis, is an example how instability causes disruption and increase in insurances, stoppage, longer distance, thereby leading to increase in prices. So you might think, what kind of increase in price? I've just to tell you, if you have, we import a lot of crude oil for energy, petroleum, etc. If the price of 1 barrel of crude, which is 135 liters, goes up by $1, our GDP suffers by $2 billion US. That is nearly 14,000 crores. So coming back to statistics, we are the third largest producer of fish in the world, which employs a sector which employs 1.5 crore people. And of course, increasingly, the sea is gaining importance as an important source of critical minerals, such as metals such as cobalt, nickel, copper, manganese, and there's a large sum that are waiting to be used up. And nickel, we are totally dependent upon this. Offshore energy, the MNRE, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, has pushed out a statement that the offshore wind potential in the country is 127 gigawatts, which is more than half the current peak power demand of 205 gigawatts in the country. So what am I rattling out all this data to you? What does it mean to us? It means that our well-being and security are inextricably linked with the seas. And if you want to become a 5 trillion economy by 2025 and a developed country by 2047, the markets, the resources, and the energy to drive this economy will come from the seas. We therefore need much more maritime awareness in our country on how the seas are our highways to prosperity. And not only maritime awareness, we have to be able to harness the full potential of the seas for national prosperity and security. So this brings me to the second point, which is that we'll be able to exploit the seas to our advantage only and only if we have a strong scientific base that underpins all maritime endeavors. And there are many avenues where investments in areas like ocean engineering can make invaluable contributions in promoting our maritime prowess. I'm aware that IIT Bombay and some of the faculty in the mechanical group are working on underwater propulsion and simulation. I think it's time that all IITs and technical institutions across the country start investing in ocean engineering, as is being done for instance, in IIT Madras and IIT Kharagpur. So as a former naval practitioner, I would like to offer some ideas and inputs on how STEM can be leveraged in the areas of maritime security. For example, the Indian Navy. In this context, it was already referred to by Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria. Let me quote the example of China, whose maritime prowess has been increasing by leaps and bounds. Their navy has been modernizing rapidly at an unprecedented pace. How did they achieve this rapid pace of technological development. One of the key reasons to my mind lies, of course, in expenditure on R&D and the military-civil fusion, or the MCF strategy. This strategy encompasses a lot of things, 6 interrelated efforts, lines of effort, but I'll stress on one very important line of effort, and that is integrating and leveraging science and technology innovations across the military and civilian sectors. Much deeper, closer linkages between the scientific community, academia, industry, and the military for R&D. In India, I think we had been fortunate that our visionary leaders realized the importance of military and civil integration in the formative years of the nation, and as a result, we set up the DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, in 1958. The IIT Bombay was set up in 1958. But despite this, if you look at indigenous self-reliance in defense, the progress has been modest. Of course, the more recent initiatives under Atmanirbharta, like the Startup India, which has fostered the Defense India Startup Challenge Series, and the renewed focus on self-reliance and innovation have now energized defense R&D to some extent. As far as the Indian Navy is concerned, we made a start several decades ago and started constructing indigenous warships right in the 1960s, back in the 1960s. And in the recent years, we've set up a Directorate of Indigenization, 2005, most recently the Naval Innovation and Indigenous Organization in 2020. And the Army and Air Force have also quickly moved on the indigenization front. And we have to do this because, like again, Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria mentioned, for the armed forces, and I can talk for the Navy, technology is absolutely critical. It makes the difference between victory and defeat. And the Indian Navy, of course, has been proactive in adopting technologies through the indigenization and innovation to enable it to perform its role effectively. So can you just show them those 2 slides there? So I just put out what some thrust areas of the Navy on capacity and capability development, which may be of interest to you all. Many of them have been mentioned by the previous 2 speakers. And have you gone through it? Just raise your hand if you finish. Yeah, okay, next one. So these are the 2 areas that the Navy is looking at. It's been published. Yeah, thank you. So the future Navy for me would be a networked, containerized, not unmanned and manned, but man-unmanned teaming, large use of stealth technology, composites, the unmanned platforms like the unmanned uncrewed aerial vehicles, uncrewed surface vehicles, uncrewed underwater vehicles performing patrols, pollution control, mine clearance, explosive disposal, logistics, etc. Future Navy will have long-range ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platforms like the high-altitude, long-endurance UAVs, the high-altitude pseudo-satellites, over-the-horizon, long-range data-linked ordnance and vectors, cognitive, long-range communication and networks, immersive simulators, blended fleets that leverage AI, networks, etc., and of course, micro, mini, pseudo, and nano satellites. For this, we've been hosting the Swavalamban series of self-reliance challenges. You'll be happy to know in 2022, we had set a challenge of 75 indigenous technologies and products, which were looking at AI, autonomous unmanned systems, and IT. And I'm happy to inform you all that when we had a second edition of Swavalamban this year, instead of 75, we got 100 plus innovative indigenous technologies and products in niche fields which were fielded by Indian startups. So there is great enthusiasm and potential in the scientific community and industry of our country. Having said that, of course, in the Global Innovation Index, we are not right up there. And there's a lot of work to do. Even countries like Turkey, Vietnam, Philippines, and Iran have had steeper rises in this innovation field. So, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I'd like to re-emphasize that the 21st century will be the century of the seas. On the one hand, we'll be looking at mitigating the effects of climate change, especially rising sea levels and ocean warming. On the other hand, we would need to look at sustainable use of the seas, be it for food, mineral resources, energy, and trade, what we call the blue economy. We'll be looking at that. And of course, there's this golden opportunity to make India a potent maritime power through intelligent use of technology. In all these areas of ocean engineering, scientific institutions like yours will play a key, crucial role. So it's therefore my earnest hope that the present and future alumni of IITs and institutions that you all represent will help our nation address the problems, seize the opportunities of the future, and lead our country's scientific endeavor in preserving and promoting India's national and maritime interest. Thank you for your patient hearing. Jai Hind.
Thank you for your excellent talk, sir. So now we come to the Q&A session. It's 5 o'clock, so we've got half an hour. So I'll repeat. So anyone who wants to ask a question, kindly stand. Identify yourself with your name and your institution which you represent, and who you would like to direct the question to, or if you want to direct it to all and get their perspectives, kindly commence your questions. Yeah, there's some boy there. Stand up, otherwise they'll not see you. They'll bring a mic to you, and you kindly speak into the mic.
Hello. Hello, sir. Myself Nikhil, and I am in my first year at this college. And my question is from General Manoj Narvani, sir. Sir, how do you approach on the process of making difficult decisions, especially in the high pressure and ambiguous situations, or any incident which you like to highlight from your experience?
So,
I toss a coin in the air, heads or tails. Now, you see, we are, right from the beginning, we are trained to take decisions. Now, whether that decision is a correct decision or a wrong decision, only time will tell. What is more important is that a decision has to be taken. There will seldom be an occasion where you will have all the facts and figures at hand that you can put into some program which will tell you how to go about it. So decision making will always be under conditions of risk. And that is the risk that you have to take. If things work out, you're a hero. If not, not.
Thank you, sir.
Jai Hind, sir. My name is Pratyush. I'm a 11th grade student from KVIT Bombay.
Before you start, sorry to interrupt, we are all very much in favor of gender equality, so one boy, one girl.
All right.
okay.
Hello dignitaries and everyone. I'm Ashrita K and I'm pursuing PhD in Civil Engineering Department, IIT Bombay. And I'm working in the field of remote sensing and satellite data for land use understanding, detection and planning. So my question is to General Manoj Narvane. Hello sir. Sir, I want to know how effective is the remote sensing data in military forces? Like if you can share, if it is allowed in public, to any one practical example where the satellite images have served the purpose.
I think, just like it's one boy, one girl, I think it should be 111. You should do least amount of work. No, satellite imagery has been with us for a long time, and we make extensive use of it for intelligence gathering purposes. But the kind of coverage that we need and the resolutions that we require are not as good as we would want. But definitely we have that capability. And with the advent of new technologies, with AI enabled, which can, have change detection. Earlier, when you got satellite imageries or air photos, you had to put the old photo and the new photo side by side and keep looking left and right to see what changes have happened. But with now technology coming into the fray, into the scene, that task has also become that much more easier. So definitely we have been able to use remote sensing to our advantage. If you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, and I think you are talking of all, from civil engineering perspective. This whole field is changing very rapidly.
Yes, sir. I am.
I think the time has come where you define what you want, and there would be people who will produce those sensors and put it and give you. Today, that tech may not be available. We face the same problem in, like General Naravane mentioned, in our requirements. Similarly, on the engineering side, on the civil side, there is a huge scope for improvement. And important issue is to pen down what you want and put it in the domain of technology development. It will happen.
Yes, sir. So my focus is on like land use planning only, where we map the built-ups areas. So like, and definitely the mapping the civilian areas is also important for army purpose, military purpose. So that was the concern, how it has been effective, and thank you for the answer, sir.
No, for our defense services, it's been very effective for our requirement of mapping. But from your engineering perspective, you may have a different requirement. That's what I mean.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, respected panel. My name is Anand. I am a BTech graduate of this institute. I graduated in 2019. So my question is that, like all three of you have a very rich experience in your respective fields. And as a young working professional, like throughout my life or, anybody my age group, we make certain mistakes at different points in our life, and most of the times we feel that, oh my god, this could have been the worst mistake, ab to dunya khatam ho jayegi. And then with experience we feel, nahi, it was not that bad, so life goes on. So my question to the whole panel is that if, I, as a young individual, I were to ask you, like basis your experience, what are the 3 or 4 life lessons you would want to give to the youth of this country, be it in any field? What would your response to that be? Thank you.
So I'll speak because I've made the most mistakes. So they looked at me. So what I feel is that everybody makes mistakes. There's no question. If a person who doesn't make mistake is not trying. So the first thing that I remember, one lesson that I learned, I had made a big blunder, and my senior, he called me up, and it was completely, he would really wanted to shake me up. And moment I entered, so I told him, it's my fault. So then he had nothing to say after that. So I think that was one strategy that I've applied. When it's your fault, you might as well say it upfront rather than giving all sorts of excuses. Second thing is there's a difference between negligence and something that goes wrong, even though if your intention is good. So if you approach everything with the intention of trying to do good, you may make mistakes, but that is much better than negligence, where you're not bothered about this thing. So this is one or two lessons that I have learned. One is to accept your fault, and once you accept your fault, you're ready to learn from it and then not make the same mistake next time, rather than trying to expend all your energy on trying to cover up the thing. And second is that please do not, even if you're a senior, don't forgive a chap for negligence. You can forgive a person for making an honest mistake, but don't forgive a chap for negligence. And forgive a chap who does things with the right intention. Thank you.
Jai Hind, sir.
Yeah, if I have to share life lesson, I'll put it like in your language, like a 3-line code. You work hard, You will succeed many times. If you succeed, step one, work hard. If you succeed, get back to step one, work harder. Many times you will fail because of your own doing or because of somebody else. Many times, irrespective of how hard you work. If you fail, again back to step one, work harder. You just stay in this loop. Forget about everything else.
Rather than life lessons, I'll address the last part of your question, that what is my message for the youth. My message would be that follow your dream, follow your passion. Don't become a doctor because your father wants you to become a doctor or an engineer. I won't not even say join the army just because I'm in the army. Follow your dream, your passion. You'll be happy in your whole life rather than doing something which you have been pushed into. Only yesterday I was speaking to someone, also incidentally an IIT graduate, who's now a filmmaker. So that was his passion. He quit everything. And he had a very tough life before he's come to where he is today. So follow your dreams.
Next question by a girl, please. Okay, the NCC cadet, please.
Jen sir, I am JEO Likita Nalla. So my question to all of you is that we have potential risk of having biowars in the future. So what would you think will be the picture in regarding it? And also, what will be the role of role of armed forces in the biowars? Thank you.
Biological warfare. You're talking about biological warfare,
Yes, sir.
chemical warfare.
Yes, sir.
So we in the services are trained for in CBRN, that is we call it NBCD or CBRN, to protect ourselves from at least our own ships. Like for example, I'll talk about my ships. Ships are capable of going through a biological or nuclear fallout area, but you know that chemical and biological warfare is banned as per the rules of armed conflict. However, they have been used, and there's no, I mean, nothing to believe that they may not be used by some kind of force. So, as far as the armed forces, we are capable of protecting ourselves in such a situation. But the general public, yes, sometimes some people even feel that there was a discussion that maybe COVID was one form of biological warfare. But that is very difficult, and it is a very real threat. That is why it's banned, use of chemical and biological.
Just to set your minds at rest, it is not that we are not prepared for NBC warfare. We have adequate number of protective kits stored at various parts of the country, and NBC training is carried out by all units of the army at specially designated nodes. If any one of you all is interested, you all could go to Pune to the College of Military Engineering, where you will even be able to see NBC shelter which has been made, where everything is self-contained and they can survive inside that shelter for up to 1 week, even if there is a nuclear fallout. So we are well aware of the threat, however remote it might be, and we are prepared to tackle it.
Thank you so much, sir.
Next question, please.
Jain sir, I am Gandharva Hardikar from SVKM's Institute of Technology, Dhule.
Go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, what duty as a citizen or a student we should perform contributing to the internal security of the country?
So your question is, what role should a citizen play to enhance the internal security of the country?
Yes, contributing to the internal security of the country.
To contribute to the internal security?
Yes, sir.
I think I touched upon it in my talk that, all of us have an important role to play.
And as I mentioned, that the diversity of our country should be our strength, diversity, inclusivity, and equality. If whatever we do keeping these 3-4 things in mind, as also the core values that we function under, which are there in the preamble to our constitution, that is justice, equality, liberty, and fraternity. Whatever we do, whatever policies we make, whatever decisions we take, we must put them against that yardstick. Is it contributing to these 4-5 things? Is it contributing to the overall national security? And only then go ahead with it. So I have given you a template against which you can measure whatever you are doing.
Thank you so much, sir.
The next question, girl.
A very good evening to all the dignitaries. This is Himavarsha and I'm a student of IIT Bombay. So my question is a general one. How do you view the relationship between the civilian and defense leadership in a vast and diverse country like India?
No, it's not clear. Once again, please.
How do you view the relationship between the leadership of defense and civilian in a vast and diverse country like India?
Civil-military relations.
Yes, sir.
You mean the government and military?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, this aspect is very important. You're talking of national security, so it's a comprehensive national power that needs to be built. There has to be an ideal interaction and fusion between all military and civil at all levels, leadership, military to its counterpart. Everything to do with national security is getting more and more complex. For example, simple cyber threat. Okay, it is a threat for defense, which defense very well understands and takes measures. It is equally a big threat for civil. And unless the two remain on the same line, if on the civil side, on our banking sectors, on your normal civil population, if you continue to get, under this cyber threat and do not take precautions, the country will come to a standstill and we'll lose any situation in any case. So I'm just giving you an example of cyber, but it is so in every field, and therefore the importance of civil-military fusion. And let me tell you, since we have all gone through that, there is a lot of work, there is a lot of interaction, there is a lot of fusion on these aspects that happens. And there is a lot more that needs to happen as things get more complex, which is the way ahead. So one, it is important. Second, it is happening. Third, in the future, this is an area that needs to continue to build.
Thank you, sir.
So in a democratic country, are you there? So it's like you can view it as like a triangle. There's a politician, there's a bureaucrat, political leadership, there's a bureaucratic leadership, and there's a military leadership. So we operate in that triangle, and all discussions that happen are based on military advice, the bureaucratic advice to the executive. And we have something called the Cabinet Committee on Security that is expected to take all the larger decisions of national security. You also have a national security advisor who advises the Prime Minister on issues that impact national security. So it's a very well-oiled system. It's unlike countries that are, run by dictators or oligarchs or whatever. The democracy has a very well-oiled system of civil-military relationship built in right from our independence. I don't know whether this answers your question.
So first of all, Jain sir. Sir, I will like to thank all three of you for having, as a normal citizen of India, because of all three of you, we are sleeping peacefully and living our life normally. Sir, my first question is, in terms of modernization, in both army, aviation, and the navy, India is how much equipped in terms of the our enemy countries like China. means I have looked on the internet, the machines or the aircraft or the submarines, they are very less in compared to the other countries. So in future, if any war happens, then how we are prepared for fight against our enemy? And the second question is, sir, uh, as many of our friends are preparing for the uh, army entrance exams, they have constantly telling about the Agniveer scheme. Means they are telling that they are only able to serve in the only for the 4 years. So they are not happy that they will only get chance for the 4 years. Uh, so what are your views, sir, on it?
Okay. Channel. On what you read on the internet is kind of information which is many times distorted. You want to compare with China? Your basic point is right that in terms of total assets, in terms of let's say if talk of aircraft, you mentioned ships, submarines, they have more. But when we do a assessment, we do a threat assessment. If I have to talk from Air Force perspective, we see what is going to be brought against us, how much we need to cater, what is required to hold them or to win a area, which win a conflict in the situation that is likely to arise. And for that we prepare ourselves. For that we see whether our assets are good enough. We need to have more. So it's a continuous process. Where are we today? For a situation that may happen on our borders, for the level of situation that may happen, we are adequately equipped. We are well equipped. What needs to be done in future is a different story, because the Chinese, threat and the general feel of the way he is progressing needs to be kept in mind. So for the future, we need to, I mentioned some of those issues, we need to really develop in areas that are futuristic and build our capability. So today we are at a certain level. In future, we really need to expand that. I'm talking of Air Force perspective, naval and perspective will be covered, but this is what we need to understand. On the Agniveer side, I think what you can explain to your friends is, look, these reforms in terms of how we are going to manage our HR resources, how we are going to take our induction, and how we are going to work towards the future requirement. There is always a cycle. Whenever a change happens, it is always a question mark in many minds as to whether it will succeed, whether it will not. A lot of thought goes into it. Okay, so what needs to be understood is, for people who are wanting to stay for the long term, after getting into Agniveer, they need to do well, and they will come into that bracket which will become permanent. That is what needs to be understood. And for people who do not become permanent, or people who do not want to become permanent at the end of their engagement period, because that is when you learn about what Army, Air Force, Navy is all about, and whether you want to continue, then you have an option to leave, and you will have necessary support from services and from the government in many areas. So it's a scheme that needs to be understood correctly and applied. For people who really want to continue, you have an option to continue. You do well, you will be in the chosen few. Okay? That's what you need to explain to your friends. Thank you.
Hello.
To take on
Jai Hind,
from
sir.
what RK has said, that HR policies of any organization will always undergo changes. It is not that you have a certain HR system of hiring, promotions, release, and that it will continue for time immemorial. Just to put the current scheme into perspective, till the mid-70s, soldiers used to only serve for 7 years, and there was no pension thereafter. But then it was felt that they are going out with such less service at a young age, so let us make it pensionable service. But you cannot give pension with just 7 years service, so the terms of engagement were changed.
and it was brought up to 15 years minimum. And only after 15 years of continuous service did a Jawan, airman, sailor get entitled to a pension. So a change has happened. At that time also there was a UN cry that how will we fight with an old army, with an aging army. Today, it is the exact opposite argument which is being thrown. But that has also worked. The new system will also work. We have to give it a try. We cannot discount or negate any new policy without having tried it out and given it time to establish itself. And as RK mentioned, a number of people will get retained, and if there is requirement of further tweaking the system, then mid-course corrections will be carried out from time to time. As far as the relative strengths of the armies are concerned, it is not the overall strength that matters, but how much of that strength you can bring to bear at the point of decision. That is what is important, and that is what generalship is all about. If any of you all are military history buffs, you all can look at Operation Barbarossa, that is the German invasion of Russia during World War II. At the start of the German invasion, Germany was inferior in total numbers in all aspects, in manpower, in number of tanks, in number of guns, in number of aircraft. The ratio was 1:1.2, 1:1.3, all in favor of Russia. Yet, it is Germany who attacked Russia and had spectacular victories till they lost their way due to some other reasons. So, don't get carried away by numbers. And more than that is also the man behind the machine. I will say with a great deal of conviction, and I say this not only for the army, but also for the Navy and Air Force, that our men are head and shoulders above anything that the world can produce.
Next question by a girl, please.
Hello.
Yes, just 1 minute.
Jain sir, myself Pratik Mundada.
As a naval officer, he tends to forget about me. This, wars are battles, or larger wars are based on comprehensive national power, which Air Chief Marshal Bhadoria also mentioned. So you have to look at not only your ability of or just the Army, Navy, or Air Force. It is the largest strength of a country to take on another. So as far as comprehensive national power is concerned, definitely we are at a disadvantage because it involves, China has invested heavily in a lot of things, especially R&D. One kind of R&D is when you do pure science, and one is when you construct or you manufacture. Manufacturing R&D, they have done a lot of work. But having said that, when you start doing bean counting, you sometimes tend to go wrong because there are several intangibles which are also determine victory or loss in a head-on conflict. Whether it is of course, technology is important. How well you are networked, or how good are your personnel, how well trained are your personnel, how motivated are your personnel, what kind of doctrine do you follow? Have you looked at the future? What kind of future will conflicts? What is the future of conflict? How you can surprise an enemy? So there are several factors that come into this thing, and that is why I think it's extremely important to treat the services as a very, very important profession because it involves not only preparing for today, but preparing for tomorrow and the day after. Because technologically intensive services have to look far ahead. Similarly, the Agniveer, I can tell you, is going to be a leadership challenge for the armed forces. And we have to, that is where I think we are very strong. We've got good leaders, good officers, and they will have to make sure that the Agniveers are up to this thing. If they don't, then it will not be good. But if they do well, then I think this scheme will succeed. Thank you.
We've got time for only 2 more questions. So I'll request one girl next and then one boy. That will be the last. Any girl? Huh? At the back? Okay, the girl in white, please. Right at the back. Yeah.
Jain sir, my request is to for Admiral Karambir Singh sir. As I am preparing for NDA, can you give
Just hold the mic properly, we can't hear you well.
Jain sir? My question is for Admiral Karambir Singh sir. I am preparing for NDA. Can you give some guidance and how did you prepare for NDA?
Sir, I am part of IIT faculty. I come here for 1 week every month. Please come and meet me, Aerospace Engineering Department. It'll take, in 2 minutes, it'll be very difficult. So any other question if you ask, I will help you. I'm also from India. It'll be too much.
Hello, Jain sir.
No, the same girl. Some other question you ask. The India guidance I'll give.
You don't have other
No other question. So I'll meet you when I come next time. Okay. One girl here. Okay. Yeah, the red, please, in front.
So, can I ask this question? It's a bit important. It's about national. I have a question.
Who's speaking right now?
So I'm speaking. Myself, Pratik.
Can't see. Can you switch off that light? Actually, we can't see anything. We're totally blinded. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, who's speaking right now?
So myself is Pratik.
Okay.
So my question is, as we have one hostile neighbor, which is Pakistan, and it is in China's debt trap, and is also playing political games and their mind games by combining itself with Pakistan. So as we are heading for a new Cold War era, because we have to suppress the China's dominance in the Indian Ocean, what is your advice to the youth of this country to develop new weapons, ICBMs, missiles, and for the national security in digital aspects too?
Do you want to know which fields you must work on? The technology? We just spoke about this in detail.
So I want to know about, as we are still waiting for the supplies from different countries on our weapons. So I want to know your advice on how the youth of this country should provide these things on its behalf, bypassing some systems and when we get the proper education about those also.
Yeah. So, earlier the ecosystem, the defense innovation ecosystem was not so great. And the reliance on foreign equipment was high. But today the government has, when we spoke about Atmanirbharta and all that, we have cut a lot of red tape. There are several schemes like the Technology Development Fund or the IDEX or IDEX for Faujis, that is for people who are in uniform. There's several things. There are research parks that the IITs have set up, like IIT Madras, where the VC, the startup, the DRDO people and the users and the MSME, they sit together so that from concept to product, things move faster. So the government is involved in trying to make sure that products are moved at a fast pace because technology moves fast. And here you are very fortunate that Chief Marshal Bhadoria is here. He's heading one of the defense corridors, and I think he'll be able to give you much more information on this.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, see too many issues with import of weapons. We are already working to indigenize. So one is weapon sensors, we need to have our own. Second, like I had said in my talk, we'll need to look at next generation technologies and work on that in terms of de novo. Build your own IPRs, build your own innovations, build your own technologies. So that is where all you bright minds come in. So one is current requirements, indigenize it. Second is for the future, design it, R&D, our own IPR. I think that is the way.
Thank you, sir. The final question for the girl in white, this side, who raised her. Please. It's a girl's question, the final. Nari Shakti, please.
Okay.
Yeah, please, kindly give her a mic, the girl in white.
Jai Hind. Myself Ishwari Sapka from Standard 12 from Foxon Educator. My question was, what are the some of the things you have adopted to military life? Means what are the some of the things you remember to adapting your life to military life?
If I get it correctly, you're saying what all do you have to, how do you have to adapt yourself when you join the military to be a good military
yes,
guy
right.
or woman? Okay.
I think I said that, if you follow your passion, then you'll be happy wherever you go. So half the battle of adapting to military life is that you should want to be in the army or the Air Force or the Navy. There have been many times when I've said to myself, Manoj, kahan phas gaya? But I did not take it amiss because it was what I always wanted to do. So no matter where I was, what were the hardships, whether it was in the middle of a jungle getting bitten by leeches, it was still I was happy that I was where I wanted to be. So I think it is more a question of being psychologically adapted or mentally adapted more than anything else. And that will only happen if from the bottom of your heart you want to be there in the armed forces.
I'm afraid we've run out of time. So I'm here every month, so I will not be able to give the same brilliance as the chiefs, but in whatever small way I can, whenever I come here, please address the questions to me. With that, I would like to thank the panel on stage, the three distinguished ex-chiefs of the three armed forces. It's an absolute pride for the Indian Institute of Technology to have such a forum with such luminaries conducting the symposium. With that, thank you very much, sir.
Please be seated. Now we would like to move ahead and present the mementos to our guests, symbolizing our deep appreciation for their invaluable insights and inspiring presence today. So I will request Gaurish to join me in honoring General Manoj Narwane with this token of gratitude. Please give a huge round of applause. I request Jainam Shah to join me in honoring Air Chief Marshal RKS Baduria with this token of gratitude. Please give a huge round of applause. I request Arnab to join me in honoring Admiral Karambir Singh with this token of gratitude. Please give a huge round of applause. Finally, I would like to call Tara Chand to join me in honoring Admiral Philippos with this memento. Please give a huge round of applause. A heartfelt thank you to our esteemed speaker, Sir Admiral Philippos. Your presence has truly enriched our event. We extend our gratitude to all three guests for their enlightening presence and invaluable insights. To our cherished audience, your engagement has made this event truly special. Thank you all.